One common feature found in gacha games is that there's often a reason for players to log in daily. This is especially prominent in gacha games in the form of daily quests. I'd like to create a discussion regarding the reoccurring usage of needing to log in daily in so many games, and especially in the gacha sphere, and really just give my opinion on why these quests can be dangerous in the long run, both for current games and for future games. My aim of this video is to reach players who are hindering their lives outside of the game by trapping themselves in routines that may seem like chores. I know that sounds dramatic, but really just hear me out. So dailies aren't unfamiliar among any of us. You log in, you complete some quests, and then you earn rewards. They refresh every day and they motivate players to make that game a part of their daily routine. Eventually, logging into that game is going to become a habit, and players will subconsciously log in to do whatever mundane task is assigned of them. These quests will range from killing a few mobs to doing some small quests. Repeat this process daily, and over time you're going to be doing these quests for hours upon hours the longer that you play. This would mean that over time, players are going to invest potential years into a game, and at a certain point, a lot of that time alone is just going to become from doing dailies. I do think that in the short term, this aspect is effective when it comes to getting somebody hooked onto a game, as it creates the game to be a part of your life. In my opinion, especially with gacha games, this is a core part of how these sort of games function, and with gacha becoming, if not already mainstream, I think that people are essentially hooked on integrating these games into their lives, and as a result, are burning out in the long term. Or even worse, are unable to quit due to a long-term investment fallacy. Basically, you can't quit because of the progress you put in. And after all, these games will require you to invest time into the game every day. To quit would mean to throw away all that investment. It's very easy to skip out on a meaningful game because you're too invested into the old one. And regardless of how you feel about the new one, you're unable to play the new one because, again, of the investment that you put into the old one. Look at Genshin and Wuthering Waves, for example. Beyond simply logging in every day, these games lure them into buying subscription-based purchases, which I'll touch on shortly, and at some point, as people play multiple gacha games, people will be spending more time doing these daily quests than actually playing the games themselves. It's also important to note that many of the gacha games have down periods for multiple weeks, making the only thing that one could do in that game for that specific day would be to do the dailies in order to prepare for the next upcoming character. It almost feels like a never-ending cycle. With releases of Zenless Zone Zero and Wuthering Waves, and also assuming that players are playing Genshin and Star Rail, there is a lot of time being put in the everyday player's life just based on these mundane tasks alone. Back then, there was only Genshin and then eventually Star Rail, but now there's 4 big gachas. Even if you're not playing all of them, there's many players who are. Additionally, if you're spending $15 per game, 10 from the Battle Pass and 5 from the Welkin, for many of us that's going to create a dent in our wallets over time, and also assuming that we're unable to stop playing these older games, there's going to be more gacha games that come out too, likely with the similar subscription-based purchases. These all incentivize FOMO, and that power alone is going to keep in players from logging and spending daily. I'll say this directly, daily logins are very repetitive and very boring. I do think that daily logins are artificial content and are easy game loops to get players addicted. I don't find them fun, and I don't think anybody else does, especially if the rewards are small, but in the gacha space, usually daily rewards are equivalent to 1 pull or even less. While they may be initially exciting because they give you a sense of progression, at some point that progression will slow down as you reach the endgame, and logging in will just be done out of either habit or, even worse, addiction. From my understanding, these subscription-based purchases are core aspects of the gacha game genre. The issue is that instead of being addicted to 1 or 2 games, people will be addicted to 4 or more, and eventually as more games come out, this might be expected to be 5, 6, 7, 8. I understand that games want your money, but in-game purchases can really be a slippery slope, and with microtransactions becoming more common, at this point they're just expected. Players might not be aware of how much money they're spending monthly on games. There's many ways to analyze this issue, and there's many conclusions that we can make from this system being in place. First, I worry that daily login bonuses will be used as some sort of endgame loop, and has the potential to even be a substitute for, again, endgame loops. In an extreme example, I think this will demotivate players to do anything more than whatever mundane daily they're expected to do on that given day. I've been enjoying Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero a lot, however, back in the fabled 2020 years, I was hooked on Genshin, and it felt like at some point I was just logging in to do the mundane tasks, collect meat, whatever, submit whatever thing they want, more than playing the actual game. And in my experience, I felt like I had to play this game every day, or I'd miss out on the less than 1 pull that I would get for doing them. It's very easy for games to play on these short-term rewards and give the player instant gratitude rather than a long-term investment reward, and as a result, long-term satisfaction with the game. I would be more than happy if future gacha games don't go down this path of repetition because I want to play these games and not feel like I'm logging in for a chore. I don't want to talk to the useless NPC or collect the stupid mint or whatever. I just want to play the game, and I worry that upcoming games are going to use daily logins as a substitute for legitimate gameplay. I really hope that Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero don't end up like this, and I hope that future gacha games don't end up doing this. It's obviously okay to have down periods in a game, but when that down period becomes months, it's going to become the norm. Outside of the gacha space, I really hope that other games don't borrow this practice, but it is undeniably effective. I understand, look at the channel, there's a low reach, but even still, I do want to talk about this, and there is stuff that we can do to prevent these feelings of burnout and just like you're in a loop of a chore. It's awful. If any game feels like you're only logging in to claim the rewards and you felt like there hasn't been change to the game itself, just take a vacation from the game. If the events in that game seem like a drag, just don't do them. Whether that be Genshin or Wuthering Waves or that one obscure game you've been addicted for far too long and you know isn't getting better. It's really easy for a game to consume your life, and for somebody to become addicted. It's hard to break a habit, especially if you are addicted. I know that it might sound like common sense. I've just seen a lot of people complain about being burnt out from playing a video game. When quitting or taking a break is an option that is beneficial for your overall health, you're playing a video game. There shouldn't be any strings attached. And in my opinion, the moment you quit any game, all that time you've spent on daily chores are going to become meaningless, but it's not like you can do dailies forever. Routines can be changed and habits can be broken. It could be hard to keep players feeling engaged long term, but I do think a balance can be found, and the feeling of having a game be a chore can easily be avoided with not playing. I don't want current or future games to go down the lazy path of only having players log in to do the dailies and not miss out. At the same time, I can see people finding daily logins and the overall routine of things to be comforting, and this to be a complete positive and a good thing for players. It just isn't for me. Daily logins are a part of gacha games and are used as a motive for players to keep logging in, and this is going to eventually add up over time. With that being said, I am interested in hearing people's experiences about daily logins as a whole. I don't see this sort of thing being talked about beyond like people talking about being burnt out, but I really found the topic of routine to be interesting, and I just wanted to give my opinion on it and just share my problems with the whole thing. Thank you so much for putting up with my audio and just checking out the video as a whole. I really appreciate it, and have a good day.